hit in the mid-70s, and everybody was recreational, and I kept it pretty much in check every Friday night. Never played around during the week. I was a good trial attorney and a good business. And one night somebody turned me on to some methamphetamine. And cocaine was fine. It was just every Friday night, get a gram and party, go down, sit in, play with the band in Dana Point, and that was it. But methamphetamine got its claws in me, and it's cocaine, maybe a sailboat on a lake on a beautiful blue day, but methamphetamine is a freight train.
Right.
And it got a hold of me, and my choice, I don't make no excuses, and my practice, my life, everything went to hell. And within a year, I lost a beautiful house in Dana Point, lost a nice car, lost a great girlfriend, and next thing I know, I am living under a house in the dirt. Typical junkie story, although I wasn't slamming, but smoking the shit. And I'm living under a house. A friend let me stay there in Laguna Beach, and all I have is my mom's dog, a Fender Strat at the time, you're right there,
yep,
and a 32 pistol. And all of a sudden, it was just time for it to be over. I was going to take my life, and wasn't even in pain, just, there's no options. All my hope was gone, and I just, it was time to exit the veil. My mom had Alzheimer's, so they had moved her up to Northern California, and I had promised to take care of her dog, this little Shih Tzu Prince. So I had him, the gun, and the axe, and that was it, in the dirt, literally in the dirt, under a house. So I'm there, and I've got this pistol, and I'm putting it to my temple. Then I'm putting it in my mouth, and in my temple. I'm trying to figure out which is going to, Jeff, leave less of a mess for the people that find me. All of a sudden, I hear this scurrying in the dirt. I look over, and I've been on a 4-day run, and I look over, and I see this big rat, so I'm shaking hands from being up sleep deprived, and I'm aiming at this rat, and the rat starts walking towards me, and lo, it sits on top of my feet looking up at me. It's my mom's little dog, Prince. I'm saying, geez, I'm looking at him. I gave my word that I'd take care of him. I can't shoot him. If I take my life, who's going to take care of him, a 14-year-old dog that bites?
Right.
And I could take my own life, and it was okay. It just needed to be over. I'd lost everything.
Yeah.
But I couldn't whack him. So I pulled the trigger pack, uncocked it, and hugged him. And so what happens the next day? I take a beautiful $800 Strat, sell it for $100 for dope money.
Yeah.
Nobody at the beach would deal with me anymore because I was crazy.
Yeah.
So when I was a public defender, where I wanted to cut my teeth years before in Orange County, be a trial attorney, you join the DA's office or public defender. That's where you get your trial experience. So what happens? I go to an old shooting gallery, brothel, motel in Santa Ana, a Mexican place.
Right.
And I'm going door to door with $100, knocking on doors. How pathetic is this? Dinero para drogas. People open the door. Dinero para drogas. Money for drugs. And finally, after about 5 doors, a guy with a big grin said, "Oh, sí, senor. We'll see you in the alley." So I go in the alley, and I see this guy walking up towards me, Jeff, and all of a sudden I hear something shuffle behind me just in time to hear and see a baseball bat, the law office of Hillrich and Brasby, coming at my neck. Couldn't get out of the way. Wham!
Jeez.
I'm laying there on the ground with a broken neck.
Oh, my God.
Paralyzed. And I can hear people talking in Spanish going through my pockets. Couldn't move, and then all of a sudden, I hear sirens and fade to black. Next thing I know, Jeff, I'm waking up, and I'm hearing bombs going off.
Yeah.
And I turn my head, and shards of light are exploding And I look, and I'm wrapped in stiff white starched linens, and I'm thinking, deluded, I'm thinking, I'm in a coffin. And I died, and I'm in a coffin. And all of a sudden, I hear bombs going off again, and I turn my head real slow. I realize I'm in a cervical collar also. I just come out of post-op. They just operated on me.
Yeah.
And I look up, and there's this old rusty TV mounted on some L brackets, and I'm in a county hospital. And I look up, and I'm looking, this is real time, this is real footage. It was March 19, 2003. We'd just gone into Iraq, and it was shock and awe. It was all real footage from us going in. So I'm laying there thinking, Jesus, the whole fucking world has gone crazy, not just my part of it,
right.
Some mad red season. So I lay there for a while, and all of a sudden, two guys walk in. Lloyd Freeberg and Bill Bedsworth, two of my best friends. Bedsworth was a Superior Court judge, and he used to be my boss in writs and appeals in the district attorney's office in Orange County. And a dear friend, too, and he looks down at me, and he goes, Trapper, look at you. And I said, yeah, not too good, trying to be jocular. And he goes, you got to check in somewhere.
Right.
And I said what every junkie says, man, I can shut it down tomorrow.
Right.
And it's what we always tell ourselves. And what I would later, years later, when I was in Del Norte County up here in Northern, when I was running 12-step meetings every Friday night for 8 years for a lot of parolees and guys, what I would tell them, what I didn't have the wisdom to tell myself then, which was, what that little redheaded gal tells you, tomorrow, yeah, I can shut it down tomorrow. Tomorrow, I love you tomorrow, but you're always a day away. Yeah, I can shut it down tomorrow, but it's always a day away. And as long as I'm living in tomorrow, I'm still going to be a junkie today. And so Bedsworth did the kindest thing in the world. He gave me some tough love, which
right.
I've run into so many times with parents that can't do it for their kids. But Bedsworth had the courage and the love to do it. He said, Trap, this isn't for me. This isn't for you. This is for me. He said, you've been breaking our heart for 3 years. You used to be a hell of a trial attorney. Whenever we see you, your little entourage is coming in, while we're leaving a restaurant or a bar. And if you can't check in somewhere, you're out of my life. I got to shut you out of my life. I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear you. And if you can't check in somewhere and do that for yourself, I gotta turn you loose, buddy. And here's tears on the face of one of the toughest guys I know. So I look up, and that kind of resonated with me. And I said, all right, man, I'll check in. Didn't want to, but so I put my hand out, shake hands with him. I said, you got my word. So a couple of days later, I get out, and with no money, I'm thinking Salvation Army is the only place it'll take you. So I don't want to go to Anaheim because I'm going to run into people I either helped send to the joint or people that, when I was a public defender, I don't want to see people that I represented. So I drive to Long Beach.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I didn't run into IRA there at the time. So I go to Long Beach to the Salvation Army there, and I go to check in, and the lady says, intake says, can I help you? And I said, well, I'm a drug addict, and I need a bed. Huh. And the lady says, well, you got something going on there with the eyes? You got some black eyes, and you got a cervical collar on? I said, well, I got a broken neck. And she goes, you got a broken neck? And I said, yeah, I was just operated on. She goes, do you understand how you pay for your program here, Mr. Alexander? I said, well, kind of. She goes, well, you work the loading docks. It's tough work.
Yeah.
And you slip and fall out there and break your neck, you're going to own this place. I'm sorry, but we can't allow you to work here.
Oh, jeez.
And you understand the concept of liability? And I remember saying, yeah, well, I can't say that. Lawyers aren't drug addicts.
Yeah.
Right. Wrong. So I walk out of there. What do, Jeff? I walk out of there. I go to their shop next door. buy a turtleneck, throw the cervical collar into the garbage, and go to a Walgreens, get some ladies' makeup, put it under my eyes, and take the bus over to Anaheim. So I go in there and I said, ma'am, I said, I need to check in. She goes, oh, okay. And I said, well, she goes, you got a problem? And I said, yeah, I'm a drug addict. I got a meth addiction problem. She goes, okay. And she goes, we don't have any beds. It's going to be at least 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember breaking down. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. I remember tears just, I'm a halfway tough guy.
Yeah.
And I remember just tears running down my face saying, I got nothing. I got nowhere to go. I got nothing left. I need you guys.
Yeah.
So she goes, if you're here in 3 days, if you're first in line, you qualify. So I went out back and slept behind a dumpster for 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
And 5 in the morning, 3 days later, I was laying against that glass door. You were not going to beat me out for that bed.
Yeah.
And so it dawned on the third day. I was there first in line, and I checked in. And Salvation Army saved my life with their 12-step program. I don't get preachy about it, but they gave me a program that, like I said, saved my life. And if it's one reason I'm talking about it, I'm not proud of being a drug addict, but the 12-step, which if you share your program with anybody else, if anybody else ever hears this, maybe you can take some courage from a drug addict that bottomed out.
Right.
Don't be afraid to ask for help.
That's awesome,
that first
dude.
The first step is the toughest. You got to be able to admit you got a problem.
Right.
It's bigger than you, and you need to lean on somebody or something to get through it, because you're not big enough to do it yourself. And all of a sudden, I realized I wasn't, and that was part of the story that I told Bruce. I said, "This is my chip. This is one of my chips," and I leaned on you a lot of times, man. I will tell you, while I was in the Salvation Army,
yep,
it was the 4th year of the smack-off.
Oh my gosh!
And I was so afraid after doing so much meth, Jeff. And I've always been, I've got pretty decent recall, and my head wasn't working after a year and a half of abusing my brain. I was really afraid that my sharps wouldn't come back. And you're laying there in a room with 6 other guys. And at night, it's in Anaheim, Jeff, I'm looking out the bars and the windows. And the fireworks are going off over Anaheim as they shoot them off every night.
Right.
And I'm looking out the bars and the windows, looking at the fireworks, and I'm thinking, that's the world I left behind.
Yeah.
That is families. It's cotton candy. It's ice cream. It's people laughing. It's people leading decent lives. That's the world I left behind, and I don't know if I can get back there. I left it all behind. I don't know if I can get through these bars and get back and to that world. And lo and behold, the smack off is coming up. So what do? I get the guy at the front desk. I help make a phony, excuse me for doing it, but we get a phony doctor's excuse, and I take off an entire morning. And I walk out, and I walk down from Anaheim, from Lewis Street, down to Catella Boulevard at Catella Avenue at State Boulevard, and there's this old, I hope I'm not going to lose you because this phone is about to go. But anyhow, there's a phone booth, and I'm standing in this totally drenched urine phone booth. You there, buddy?
Yeah. Yeah, keep going.
And so I get in, I call the 800 number, and I get through, and I get my call in, and just at the end of the call, what happens? Somebody tried to rip the phone out, and it shorts out. But
is that
confident.
Is that the smack off where your phone was like all Like, sort of.
It sure was. Yep, it was. And so I
So
looked down.
Jim Rome ran you. I remember that.
But the phone wasn't working, and I just said, "Hey, man, I got to go." And I looked down on top of my shoe, Salvation Army flops, kicks, and there's this little brown and white mouse up on his heels looking at me.
Yeah.
As he probably did for so many other homeless people that had been there. So I went in there and got some Cheetos and gave it to him. And then I walked back with the knowledge that I still was competent enough to run some smack in the smack off.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, on that day, Jimmy and the show gave me some time to let me think, I got a shot at getting back through those bars and back to that life.
That's
So
awesome.
God bless Jimmy and the show for that. But I've been a blessed man.
I hear you,
and,
man. So, like,
I've been very blessed.